Hey, good morning, everybody. It is Wednesday, the 29th of September. I can't believe it. Here we are. Sorry, I'm orienting myself. It's always a little wacky to go live, right? It's like, what is happening? Um, it's like it starts before. It's weird. It's like it goes live, but then it kind of delays a little bit. Anyway, I won't bother you with such things. Good morning. Um, nice to be here with you again. Thank you for your patience last week. I had kind of a crazy week last week, and as you know, that's kind of how things work in the world of voiceover. Um, of course, as per usual, let me know that you're here so I can say hi. And I always love it when your names pop up. It makes me very happy. Um, and let's see, there's so many things I want to talk to you about today. And we're going to start with the AI and the future of voiceover. And then I have really just kind of one other kind of general story I want to tell you about, um, you know, the how important it is, no matter how many years you're in voiceover, to keep learning. Right? That's the second story. So, so let's. Good morning, Emily. Good morning, Susan. Thank you for being here. Um, let's start by talking about AI, artificial intelligence. Um, Interesting. Interestingly enough, I tend to book things like, I tend to book computer voices, right? Things like that, which of course, that's a human voice being booked as an artificial intelligence, as opposed to what all of us are, currently contending, and that is contending with, and that is that, you know, um, artificially intelligent voices that are, how shall I say it, taking our work, right? Hey, Vince. Hey, Brad. No problem. Stay as long as you can and catch it on the replay. Um, so, this is a super interesting topic to me in many ways. And in other ways, I'm not the least bit interested by it. If I could just be so bold, Um, Number one is the technology is here to stay, right? So we're going to have to all get comfy with it. Um, and along with that little piece of truth is that there will always be work for us. Okay. So really what I have to say to you today is really, I don't have like super insider intelligence about this stuff. And I really don't know anyone who does. I know that there are people in our business who are kind of making it a point to learn as much as they can about what it is, what the technology is, and how we can live and work side by side with it. The person who comes really directly to mind for me, because I see, I follow her and, we're colleagues, and is Anne Ganguza, who seems to really have people that she's interviewing about the topic and really trying to educate us all about what it is. And so, if you don't follow Anne, if you're not familiar with her, I suggest that you do. Anne Ganguza, Ganguzza, and she has a group I think that she runs called VO Peeps, and so and keep your eyes open for people who are teaching about this stuff and who are curious about this stuff. It's new to all of us, um, and we'll be on a learning curve for the next several years, I think. But the big thing that I want to say about this is, hey, Yvonne, nice that you're here. The thing that I want to say about this really is, um, you know, it's sort of what I say about everything, and that is don't be afraid. Um, it's again, it's here, but there is and always will be work to be had. And if you want to do the work and you want to be a part of the whole new technology, the biggest piece of advice I can give is to make sure you get a good rate. That's really the bottom line, right? If you're going to do the if you're going to do the work, don't sell yourself short. You know, I think probably all of us are somewhat familiar with what is happening, with Bev Standing, who did some AI work for an entirely different company, and her voice was sold to TikTok. And TikTok was, had been using her voice on their platform, such that anybody who wanted to use a voice was using Bev's. And she didn't sign on for that. That was nowhere in her contract, right? And so she's in a legal battle, if you will, with TikTok to try to get all that straightened out. So um, that will that that will have interesting ramifications on how our voices are used and the rights that we have to our voices, right? Um, so I'm not a person who says to shun the work. I wouldn't say that. I think it's just really important that we're paid well for our work and that we understand our contracts, what's in them, and that people don't abuse us along the way, right? That's at the heart of it. We don't want to allow ourselves to be abused, and we do very often allow ourselves to be abused by mostly by low rates. And so that is something that I can completely, stand up for and say, make sure you get a good rate. Now, how do you do that? Well, it's the same. It's the same as everything else when we're out in the world and trying to figure out how much we're worth. You know, um, we have to look to the standard guidelines, right, which can be found again, um, the SAG-AFTRA rates, which I've posted in some other lives, and then also the GVAA rate guide, the Global Voice Actors Academy. I think that's what it is. GVAA is how I know it. The GVAA rate guide, and I'm sure that both SAG, AFTRA, and GVAA are about the business of incorporating rate understanding to AI, right? But again, it's developing. So I have no great piece of wisdom there, except that I have some perspective, and I'll tell you a little bit of perspective as it kind of relates, right? Since I've been doing voiceover in the mid '80s, there's always something. Sorry, there's always something that voice actors are fearful of. Um, you know, when I started. There was this real recognition, in the late '80s that women we don't get that much of the work. We don't get that many auditions. Like 85% of the work is for men, right? And so there's a big push and a big worry about, how are women ever going to work? How are we going to ever, right? How are we ever going to make progress? We want our place at the table, right? All of that. And while I understand that kind of thing, right? And I certainly want more work. I never, ever, ever let it stop me from doing the work that was in front of me, right? And I have a career, and I built a career, even in an environment where the vast majority of the work went to men, right? So there were. It's like we have to balance our. Well, I guess there's a difference between having a concern and wanting to make inroads, and wanting to say, you know what, women can be authoritative as well. We can be spokespeople as well, right? And saying that because it's true, right? And that sort of the other side of that, which is to worry, which is to I hesitate to use this word, but I hope that you understand, right? To complain and to see ourselves as victims. Like, I will never view myself in that light. Will I work toward making things more balanced? Yes. Will they ever be equal? No. They just won't. And that's just, to me, that's a part of reality, right? And so the best way that I can contribute to the truth that women can do, can be authoritative and can be spokespeople, right? And can do the work is by doing the work and by doing it well. That's it. Prove that women can be authoritative by being authoritative in your reads, right? that has always served me well. Do the work and do it well, right? And that's how you prove it, right? You want to prove that you're an athlete, of some merit. You keep at your speed. You keep at your skill set, and you do the work. That's the ticket, right? So, hi, John. Um, so another, what was the other thing I wanted to say? Okay. Well, this is across the gamut, right? The other thing that came into play for me anyway, and mine is not the only 35 years of voiceover. It's like things have been happening forever, but certainly for me in the 90s, there was really a big surge of celebrities doing voiceover work. And I have had experience many times of being in the running with celebrities, and I always lose out. Always. Right? And it is just part of the deal. Even if they're not as good as we are. And there are many on camera actors, film actors, who are fantastic film actors, Oscar winning, right? Who don't do voiceover very well. But I can guarantee you that the people at the advertising agency would rather be in on a session with an Oscar winner than they would with me, right? And really it serves the vast majority of people in the country don't know when it's a celebrity. They don't know. People in New York and LA know. And people inside the business know that that's a celebrity who's doing that. But the vast majority of people buying, Clorox bleach, they don't know that that's a celebrity who's selling the product on a TV commercial or a TV campaign, right? So nonetheless, they're here to stay. Celebrities doing voiceover is here to stay, right? And so what is my response to that? Do the work that's in front of me and do it well, period. That's it. Right? To me, there's no other answer to that. And I'm not going to let it set me back. And I'm not going to I'm not going to allow it to make me feel like a victim to it. It's just a part of the deal. And just as, life's not fair, voiceover is not fair. And the faster we sort of acclimate to that truth, the happier we will be, right? So the same thing applies for the phenomenon of artificial intelligence and voiceover. It is undiscovered country, right? It is, to borrow a Star Trek phrase, right? It really is the final frontier. I mean, I can't imagine anything beyond it, but who knows what's out there? But we're all learning about it, right? And so, I don't want to belabor it, and I realize it's not a whole lot of information that I'm giving you. It's really just more of a perspective, right? That we really can't allow ourselves to be afraid, and I think we have to educate ourselves because, not knowing is what breeds fear. So we have to go about the business of learning about it so we can let go of our fear, right? So, and that, I mean, my goodness, isn't that the truth about everything? Ignorance breeds fear, whether it's about AI or whether it's about people that you don't understand, people that you disagree with, right? So the process of learning, right, and gathering information it's pivotal to ultimately to our happiness, right, and our ability to contend with everything around us in the business as it continues to evolve, and it will continue to evolve. That's the bottom line. So my message about that is don't be afraid, and there you have it. So the other thing that I want to say to you, hopefully shortly, because I realize I've talked for almost 15 minutes now, is I wanted to share with you an experience that I had last week. And that is, I think I've mentioned to you that I I have some affiliate clients, some TV news station affiliates, and it's an area of work that's difficult for me. Um, and again, the here's an area where it is like, I swear to God, it's like 95% male, right? It's um, and so I do feel super fortunate that I have the clients that I do, but it has such a it's such a distinct kind of a read, and I discovered a few things about myself in this past week in discussing the topic and discussing my particular read with a couple of people. One, Carrie Tombazian, who is I she's actually teaching a class in October, which I can post the information on the site, which in commercials, which if you're able, I just highly, highly recommend. She's such a remarkable teacher, truly. So I spoke with Carrie about it, and she also has many affiliates. She's one of those rare females who has affiliate clients. And then the other person I spoke with was Steve Mackel, who is he's a promo guy, and promo and affiliate are very, very closely related. He's the voice of NBC Late Night, coming up next on Fallon. He's that guy. So I had conversations with them, and what I learned was I played something for my friend Carrie, who, and I said, I think I'm getting better. I think I'm improving. There are still some ways in which things don't quite sound right, but I feel like I don't sound as pushed and as forced, right? And she replied, and she said, yes, you are getting better. And then she took note of something, the way I said a particular word. This is where for me it got interesting, right? I had to say the word toxins, right? And it was supposed to be like intense and, hard news, right? Toxins, like that kind of thing. And she said, it's interesting how she said, it's really the language of affiliate is really about the consonants. And then she said, really, all of our language is about the consonants, not the vowels. And she said, try this little trick. Take any sentence and pull out the vowels, and you will still be able to understand what the sentence says, right? So she gave me an example with a Beatles lyric, right? Something in the way she moves. So she sent that to me without the vowels in it, and of course I could read what it said. It made perfect sense, even though the vowels weren't there. And then she sent another text and said, here are the vowels. I was like, yeah, I have no idea what those words are, right? Which was a really interesting mindset for me. Like, oh, I realized I am on the word toxins. I was really hitting the vowels, right? And it sounded pushed and labored, and like it really was like a forced kind of urgency, right? And then, I spoke with my friend Steve, and I was explaining this to him, and he said, do you know why you hit the vowels? And realizing that he was asking the question because he knew the answer, right? Do you know why you do? Like, if you don't, I'll tell you why. And I was like, I can't imagine how Steve Mackel would know why I tend to hit vowels more strongly, right? And I go, no, I don't know why I do that. And he said, because you're a singer, and singers live for vowels, which is totally true, right? We want those open, extended vowel sounds, which is where like all the feeling comes in a song, right? So those two things put together, right? The importance of consonants and my tendency toward elongating vowels because I'm a singer, like was this huge light bulb for me. And I realized I need to emphasize. It's not so much emphasize, but it's be aware of the consonants and shorten my vowel sounds in order to sound more intense in an affiliate promo. It is like game changing for me, right? So now I can't wait to do my next affiliate, copy, which is waiting for me, which I will do after this. Whereas, last week, I dread getting them. It's like, oh God, I'm just not very good at this, and I don't understand why, and I can't figure it out. And I hope hold on to my job, and all of that. And so the point of all of this really is, here I am 35 years into this, and I am continuing to learn, right? I'm continuing to ask for help and ask for understanding and seek understanding as to why I am, why something is uncomfortable, right, in my mouth. Why isn't it working? Why doesn't it feel good, right? And that to me is like, if I could impart anything at any time to you all, and that is, that it would be that, we're never done. We're never done learning. And it applies even to our understanding and our perspective about AI. Like, we have a lot to learn, so let's learn it. Let's get out there and gather information so that we feel comfortable about the reality of it, right? And we know where we fit, and we can decide whether or not we're going to participate in it or not, right? Most of the time, I pass. But sometimes I see something that's interesting enough to me, and I go, yeah, the rate's good on that. I'll try that, right? So that's the big point, and how I sort of wanted to tie it into the whole notion of AI and what that means and why it freaks us all out and all of that. So I just got a question. Would you mind demonstrating toxins with shortened vowels? Okay, yes, and this will be exaggerated and not, don't take it to air, okay? So I would say that customarily how I would read it, I would do something like toxins. It's just so horrible. I can't even bear, right? And it's a little pushed vocally because I'm trying to impart importance to it, right? Whereas Carrie would say, get up closer to the mic, right? Which is the basis of my commercial training. Get up close to the mic because you get more authoritative the closer you get to the mic. So she would say, get closer to your mic and shorten your vowel sound. And it would go something like toxins. Right? Can you hear the difference? Toxins. Really pushed. Toxins. That sounds almost scary, right? It's like, ooh, toxins, that's bad, right? Does that help? Does that make sense? I really have to learn to put it in practice. So it's not like it's not like I'm good at it yet. I still have to go in and figure it out and learn along the way, right? So that's it. I've kept you for 23 minutes. I really don't like to go beyond 20, but so the bottom line is, don't be afraid. Seek information and seek knowledge, and then determine what it is that you want to do with your career. If you want to participate in AI, get yourself a good rate. Understand rates, right? That's the most important thing. If you don't want to do it, you don't have to do it. There are lots of ways in which we will, we'll continue to get work. I don't think that the human factor will really ever disappear from our profession. Ultimately, we human beings, we still need to connect as human beings, right? And so, hold on to that and make your choice, right? And do so with knowledge and protect yourself, right? And keep learning. So there you go. That is Facebook Live for September 29th. 2021. And I'll see you all next week. And I hope you have a great rest of your week. If you have any questions, as always, send me a message any way that you can find me. And I'm happy to answer. And if I'm late answering, please pardon me. Nonetheless, I will look forward to seeing you online and out and about all over social media. All right, y'all. Take care. Have a good one. Bye.